Hello, good human. I'm Nim Deeswart, and this is Return on Wisdom. Tell me a story about your experiences with grief and loss.
Probably my biggest grief was when I got back from Iraq. My wife was having an affair, so obviously the marriage broke down. I found that very difficult. Prayed a lot about that for forgiveness, but that was probably, of all the grief in my life, that would be the most intense.
And how did you navigate those waters?
Well, forgiveness, which is difficult when there's the other party's done something that you don't think is within the rule book. A lot of church, realised that it wasn't either of our faults or not my fault, and don't beat myself up about it. And make sure that we were good co-parents, which we have been. So I got a lot of joy out of my two sons, as does she. And I think we've, despite, being single parents, we worked as well as we could.
What relationships in your life do you think have given you the greatest growth?
I'd be my parents, especially my father. He was sort of the mentor and the leader and the wise man.
Tell me more.
Well, my eulogy went for 20 minutes on him. There's 500 people at his funeral, so it was a pretty good show. Look, the story is that he was a unique man, not perfect, but pretty close too. But it was his, I guess it was his integrity and his philosophy and his strength of character and his unfailing honesty and his unfailing help to his fellow man. So the English call it the nobile oblis. So when you're in a position of, I don't say privilege, but if you are in a position where you can help others, then that's the creed, as I call it, my father and mother did all their life. A couple of quick case studies. The best one that was read out at his funeral was that there was a disabled boy who lived down in the valley here, and he'd just sit on the front veranda of the house and he'd wave to all the cars. He was born without an eye, and he didn't go to school because he didn't have the intellectual capacity. But he was quite brilliant. He built a toy train set. And so at about the age of 15, I think that's when, he could legally, didn't have to go to school or have some schooling. My father pulled up to his mother, who had 4 children to 4 different fathers, I think. And he said, would Russell like to come to the farm and, work with me and work with the other boys up at the farm? It might be good for him. So from that day, for the next 25 years, that man didn't miss a day at the farm. And my father got him an eye surgeon to get a glass eye put in, taught him how to drive, got his own licence, bought a brand new VW Beetle, and that was, as our neighbour Pastor Tom Boyd said, he said that's one of the greatest acts of Christianity I've ever seen, and that's the sort of stuff Dad did. So that's the template that's mapped out my life. So if I can do help some other veterans, which I am, by creating this Veterans Organic Garden and giving them a safe place to come, place to heal, place to grow food, place to meditate, then that's something I'm going to try and do.
What was your experience like dealing with his death?
Yeah, good question. I surprised myself because Dad was my hero and my best mate on earth, and I was his. I thought I wouldn't be able to live without him, but I think because I nursed him for the last 18 months and I saw him slowly deteriorating, and, he's a very fatalistic man and said, I just want to die, but I had to reconcile a couple of things. Firstly is that because I thought he was Superman, I wanted to live to 100, and then I realised that was just selfish of me because when he wanted to go was when he wanted to go, and he was 97. Second thing is we were resigned to the fact that he'd had a bonus because at 93 he got a new valve put in his heart. And so if he hadn't got that, he would have died at 93, but he got another 4 years. And during those 4 years, Mum and I gave him great joy and comfort. I'd drive him to Springbrook and Tamborine, take him to Mooloolaba for a milkshake. I'd get him Chinese food every Monday night, give him a glass of sherry, and then I'd get him gourmet pizza every Friday night and iced coffee. So these little things were just little, and even when he was in hospital in 2001 with COVID, in the ward you couldn't go in, I would go down to the John Flynn Cafe and order a caramel milkshake, then ring the nurse on his floor and she'd come down and get it and take it up to him. So I did little things like that. So I think I was prepared because of the slow decline. I realised Dad wanted to go, And I didn't get any, and I haven't had any delayed grief, and I surprised myself because I thought I would go into great grief and shock. But as a mate of mine, my barrister mate, is helping me with this big legal matter, he had a very close relationship with his father, and we've talked about it, because he spoke in favour of my father at the funeral, as did another barrister mate, because they'd all grown up, and they thought he was some superhero like I did. And he said, Gower, you become your father, mate, so, you know, your father's not gone because you are your father now. You are Bill Freeman incarnate walking around the mountain, so your father's still here. So that's how I've sort of... And a good mate of mine, Toby Ford, who did medicine with my sister, but his father was at school with my father, passed about 10 years earlier than Dad. He rang me up and he loved Dad as well. He said he came to the funeral and spoke. He said, mate, just reframe your mind and don't mourn the loss but celebrate the life. So for the last 3 months, as Mum and I were driving down every night to the hospital, I'd say, Mum, we're not going to mourn the loss, we're going to celebrate the life. So I completely changed my, I guess, psychological thought pattern that I know Dad was going, but I'm not going to be upset because he wants to go and he's going to be in heaven. And so we'll celebrate the life. That's what I'm still doing. Now, I don't know whether it's a coping mechanism or just my philosophy or what Dad wanted, but his legacy's here. I'll show you in the lounge room all the stuff, you know. But everybody comes to the farm, and if they don't know my father's died, they go, is Bill alive? Is he still here? And then I say no, and they go, oh, man, what a great man. We used to come up here and just have these brilliant chats with your father. He said, what a philosopher.
Talk to me about some of the hardships that you've experienced.
When I was a younger man, I was very much into mountain climbing. So I was lucky enough to get on the Everest expedition, the highest mountain in South America, and then I was the first guy to do the Cedar Summit of Africa. When I got back, I had a malignant tumour, which was supposedly aggressive, and they were going to have to give me 12 months of intensive chemo. But I just mentally decided that, no, this cancer's not going to get the better of me. I'm going to beat this. So I had 4 weeks back here at the farm, and I just had carrot juice and broccoli. And when I got back to Sydney to Royal Prince Alfred, the doc said, you look well, mate. I said, yeah, I feel really good. He said, well, we've got to do another blood test because there's clearly a mistake. You know, because when I operated on you, your cancer levels were 75 parts per million, and the accepted level is 4. And I said, why? He said, well, your blood test is saying that you're 2. He said, it's clearly a mistake, so we're going to do another test. Go and get a coffee, come back in 2 hours, and because I know you've got to get the plane back tonight. So I came back in 2 hours and he just smiled. He said, mate, there's nothing wrong with the lab. He said, you're cured. What'd you do? I said, I just had carrot juice 5 times a day and ate broccoli and played Bob Dylan. And he said, well, mate, your body's strong because it's rebooted and it's beaten this. He said, come back every month for the next 2 years. We'll do blood tests, and then, you know, after 3 months, and then you can go back overseas. So that was my biggest challenge. And my second biggest challenge, I suppose, was getting over my divorce more than... I quite honestly and openly say that was far worse than any war I went to. Yeah.
Relationships, they test us.
They do, because we're humans.
Thank you for joining us on Return on Wisdom. If this resonates with you, please support the project by subscribing. You're amongst the first believers helping us create a world that listens, learns, and values lived experience wisdom. Every like, comment, and subscription is a powerful reminder to keep this mission alive. Your support today makes all the difference. Thank you.